Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my holiday time, my vacation time, and you're going to be so sick of hearing it because I had so many great experiences over the last 3 weeks of August that I think I'm going to be processing for years. But for now, I want to talk a little bit about um, stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit. Part one, and this part one is about meeting new people. One of the gifts of doing something like this online is that I get to talk to people and people get to comment back to me. And I feel like we get to know each other, like we're having a relationship. But there's this beautiful thing called the screen, this thing right here in between us. And for somebody who is an introvert, who a flaming introvert, and is really uncomfortable talking to people. I mean, it's my job. Isn't that the ultimate irony? A lot of priests are introverts, and yet what do? We feel called to be people who go and talk to people on purpose. But I'm a screaming introvert. If I had my way, I would be like holed up in the hills somewhere in my own log cabin with lots of books and no internet. and Rob could come and visit once in a while. I would like to talk to the chipmunks and the squirrels, like be Dr. Doolittle. I am really, really like being on my own. Um, and the irony of that is that when I get to meet new people, I really like meeting new people too. But my gut says, no, just hunker down and be by yourself, and that's the comfortable place to be. And then God says, get out of your shell and go and meet new people. And one of the things, because a theme for my holidays this year seemed to have become to try something different, to see who am I when I'm not looking, if that makes any sense. But to try something different, to go beyond what I think I can do and do a new thing. And one of those things that I did, that if you had asked me 3 or 4 years ago, would you ever meet somebody in person that you'd never met, but you only met online? The only way I would 3 or 4 years ago, I would have thought of that was be like online dating or something. And that answer would have been absolutely not. Why would I do that? But COVID and going online with church services and then church at home with Rachel, these things all sort of worked together to bring me into a whole new me, a whole new way of being. And my life is so much bigger and better than it was before because of this venue, this particular media thing, this medium. You see, one of the gifts of of Church at Home with Rachel is that I have had an opportunity to meet virtually a lot of really cool people, really powerfully beautiful people. Every one of you that I comment with, and even the people who argue back with me or push me my boundaries, or maybe test me and say, "Well, I think you're wrong." Every single one of you has helped me to grow as a person, to become something more than I was before that moment. And one of the things that has happened is that during our converse or during well, yeah, during conversations with my husband Rob about what we would do for our holidays, we recognized we wanted to go to Ontario for a family reunion from Alberta. But Rob's a big fan of going there fast, which means traveling through the states. And when we decided to do that, we started realizing there were going to be a couple of places where we would actually land, where a couple of you land. And so I had the opportunity to meet two of our subscribers to Church at Home, and it was nerve wracking. The first person I met, her YouTube handle is Seph, and if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, because you've never actually said it out loud to me. You've only spelled it, and I'm guessing Sephiroth, I think, is your actual handle. And we met on our second night. The first night we were in Saskatoon. The second night we were in Grand Forks, North Dakota. And on the Sunday morning, we met and had breakfast with Seph in a place where she works. And shout out to Grandma Butterwicks and the wonderful staff there and the beautiful breakfast. But more importantly, the incredible conversation and opportunity it was to meet another human being with whom I'd only had opportunity to chat back and forth through comments and then also through Facebook. I was so nervous. Rob can tell you the whole night before, I was just absolutely terrified. What if Seth thinks I'm an idiot? what if she, what if this person thinks that, I'm like okay on screen, but in person, I'm something like, oh, you know, I was very, very nervous. But Steph made me feel incredibly comfortable. And I walked into the restaurant, and immediately there was this person who I knew, and she knew me as if we were long lost friends. And we were just picking up where we left off. And this person is about, I'm rather tall. I'm almost 5'10", and Steph is not. So I went to give Steph a hug, and I sort of had to bend over. I felt like I was going to crush her. Um, but it was a real gift to meet Seth, and to have that opportunity to just chat and get to know about her and her family, and the cat and the job, and just to find out more about who this person is that I connect with this way. And then after Ontario, we came back through Louisville, Kentucky, and we got to meet Kim. And Kim is a regular commenter as well, and a new Episcopalian, new Anglican, to the church, coming up, well, I guess officially, not quite a year. Um, I think officially less than maybe just over half a year. Um, but it was absolutely incredible to meet, because we've been some back and forth correspondence, snail mail, the old way through the United States and Canadian postal office. But then getting to meet Kim in person, and then meeting her husband, Jerry, and having a meal out with Kim, and then going back and meeting her husband, and getting to know what it's like to live in Louisville, what it's like to be this person that I have come to know and think of as a friend and a sister, was absolutely phenomenal. And again, like driving from my home, my where I was, wasn't born, but I spent time and spent a lot of my growing up time near Hanover, Ontario. The 6 or 7 hour drive down to Louisville on that Sunday morning. That a lot of the time I'm telling my husband, what if she doesn't like me? What if I don't measure up to who she thinks I should be? What if what if I'm a total dolt? What if I disappoint her? And realizing that I was putting all of these worries that I had no reason to have. We discussed via texting that I was going to be there. We're going to meet. Um, we're going to come to Louisville anyway. So, hey, this would be awesome. And realizing that my fear of my introverted fear of meeting new people was being overcome by my desire to do a new thing, to meet people who are not necessarily like-minded. Seth and I do not think alike in lots of things, but we appreciate one another. I think that's the best way to put it. We have completely different ways of coming at life, and yet I think we both share a weird sense of humor, which I think is the connection. And Kim and I have a lot of things in common. Kim and Louisville have a lot of, and I have a lot of things in common. And it really helped me to get out of my shell of protective introversion, and recognize that God calls me and calls all of us to do a new thing. Because what I realized, one of the realizations I came to over and over and over again on my holidays, was that the world that I live in, the opportunities that I have as a child of God to live in this world, are so vast. They are limited only by my fear that somebody won't like me, my fear that I won't live up to someone's expectations, my fear that I'm not enough, my fears that I, as I am, will not be good enough for some unknown, unseen judgment. And that's a fear that I am the only one who can conquer. Because I don't think that either Seth or Kim felt that I was some kind of, I don't think I let them down. At least I hope I didn't. But what I know is I met two incredibly beautiful people, and my world got bigger in a really safe and beautiful way. And that would not have happened if I hadn't gained a new perspective. And that perspective could only come by crawling from underneath my turtle shell and looking out at the world and saying, even if it's scary and maybe even dangerous, I'm going to try a new thing. Even though I feel like all I want to do is curl up inside my little home and put a blanket over my head and pretend that I am the only one in my world who exists in my little world, that God is calling me to really look into the world and say what else there is, and how great experiences can be if we break out of our comfort zone. And really, meeting Seph, that was the first part of a long 3 weeks of breaking out of my comfort zone. Meeting Seph and Kim gave me that first little crack in the shell that said to me, let the light come in. Let yourself have permission to be brave enough to see how beautiful the world can be. So I'm going to talk more about my vacation as the weeks go by, but I really wanted to say a big thank you to Seph and to Kim, because they helped me to recognize the beauty that lies beyond my vision. That when I'm willing to take a step beyond what I can see today, what I can see as I sit right here, when I stand up and take one more step, that one step opens up a whole new horizon for me. And that's something that I'm going to have to work on and chew on and process and struggle with and take accept the challenge of. Because this world that we're called to live in is so much more wonderful and greater than what we see around us if we're scared. So I invite you today, think about something small that scares you, not something big, unless you're ready for it, but think about something small that scares you and take that little step to break through that fear, whatever it might be. And then be amazed and pat yourself on the back that you didn't die, that you didn't get swallowed into a big hole, but that you were able to do a little bit of something that scared you. And you realized that your world was bigger and better for it. What might that be? For me, it was taking that challenge to meet some new people. And my world got much bigger than I ever thought it could be. How about you? Have a great day. God bless you, and I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel for Feel Good Friday. God bless.